it's me again. And good gosh, how long has it been? My last upload was like last year in May. But, yeah, here I am again. Yeah, it's been pretty hectic ever since then high school started, and so that's a lot busier. I haven't been able to use the computer that I use to edit as much, so I pretty much haven't been able to put out videos because I've been very busy. I know that's not a very good excuse, and thank you for those of you who have been patient with me. I can't believe there's still some of you around. Anyway, these are redesigns of Marvel's new Warriors series. And I know diddly squat about comics. I don't read them, I don't really keep up with Marvel stuff, but this thing just kind of blew up on the internet, and everyone was like talking about the designs, and a lot of other people were doing awesome videos redesigning them. And that really inspired me to do my own take on them. So that's pretty much what this video is about. Now, this roster of characters, there's a big roster of characters, but the ones who've been getting the most criticism are SnowFlake and SafeSpace. Now, there are a lot better YouTubers than me who have covered why these characters are bad and insulting to the LGBT community, but today I'm kind of just gonna focus on the design aspect of them, because since I'm not part of the groups that they affect, I can't really talk about that well. So I'm just gonna take you through my design process, and we're gonna have some fun redesigning them. So the first order of business for the designs was to get rid of those costumes. They're not necessarily bad, they're just really, really boring. And I get that they're twins and they're supposed to look the same, but they look like default skins that you would get in a video game before you customize the character, you know? Like, it looks like a base. So what I wanted to opt for instead was I wanted to go for costumes that looked similar, but had some different elements that the character would add as kind of like, to kind of spice it up, you know? Take the jackets that I gave them. They're both the same sort of transparent neon jackets, but they're in different styles. So with SafeSpace, his is kind of like a varsity jacket to match his like jock personality, and it imitates his force fields because his force fields are pink and transparent, and so is his jacket, so it ties very nicely into his personality and superpower. As for SnowFlake, their jacket is a vest type thing, and it's very sharp, and it's got these sort of icy designs. I also made it a vest because I wanted to make room for their long sleeve top underneath. Inspiration for both these outfits was the neon theme that the group had going on, at least that's what I saw. And I thought that would go really well with that sort of superhero aesthetic. Well, I mean, it's one aesthetic that superheroes have, and it's where it's like these bright colors, but it has this very futuristic and streamlined design. So think like Superman, Wonder Woman, like the Teen Titans. The Teen Titans was really a vibe that I was going for here. In a weird way, I also took inspiration from the Sonic comics. My brother has a lot of them, and I guess you could say the outfits they wear are kind of superhero-y, at least for those of them that wear clothes. Like, if you look at the designs, you notice that they have kind of that same neon but futuristic vibe that I was going for, especially with the little like gold cuffs that I gave them. That was like purely silver inspired. Or I think like Vector has those too, but that was also another vibe that I was going for. I also changed their hair into ringlets because one, they're just more fun and cute than the buzz cuts they have, and two, you can style them in more different ways. So for example, with SnowFlake, I gave them kind of a side swoosh, like half-shaved head. I don't know, I kind of interpret that as an edgier style. But with SafeSpace, I kind of just gave him just this untamed mop on his head. I just think that looks cute, because he looks like a cinnamon bun, to be honest. I also changed their shoes. One is that I gave them these cute little neon cuffs to match their neon jackets. And I turned SnowFlake shoes into ice skating shoes. Obviously the blade would be able to retract, so they're able to move normally. But while they're like ice skates, I kind of wanted them to have that same thing that Pearl from Steven Universe has in their fighting style, where they're able to still beat up villains, but they're still able to be graceful and move around like a ballerina or like a figure skater would in their case. In regards to their powers, their backstories, and especially their names, I changed those up too. So I renamed SafeSpace Fort, and I renamed SnowFlake Frost. One, because they sound very similar, so you can kind of get that twin vibe. And the other reason is because they're basically cooler synonyms for what the creators were trying to say, and they're also not outdated internet memes. Let's start with Frost. So, in terms of personality, they didn't have much in their official description, which gave me a lot of room for creative liberty. So, I decided to make them the evil twin of the duo. I mean, obviously they're not evil because they're a superhero, but they're the more serious and sort of deadly of the group. As for their powers, when it came to me changing both of the twins' powers, I basically took kind of a My Hero Academia route, because what I really like about My Hero Academia and the way they treat superpowers is that each superpower is treated like a physical ability. It has its own drawbacks and it has its own strength, and you have to nurture it depending on those drawbacks and strengths. So that's kind of the direction I took for redesigning their powers. So this is the new description that I gave for Frost for their power. A cryokinetic who can generate weapons made of ice, which increase in hardness and attack damage depending on how much water they have in their system. So their original power was essentially making ice shurikens, and I'm like, why that specific, you know? Why not make it literally any ice weapon? And since it's ice, obviously it's going to be a bit flimsy, so I wanted to give them a bit of an advantage by them being able to make the weapons more powerful by essentially drinking more water, which makes sense because they would have more water in their system to be able to generate harder and better weapons. Now on to Fort, because Fort was the guy I was excited about, because I just had so many ideas of what he could do with this new power that I gave him. But first let's talk about his personality. His official description does specify that he is a jock, so I want to keep him that way. But I also had this idea for kind of a cute dynamic that he could have with his twin, where as for his power, his original power is that he can make force fields, but he can only make them for other people. And funny enough, I actually wanted to keep that weakness, because as far as characters with force field powers go, I feel like that's a very unique weakness, or like drawback, I should say, to have to deal with. And in my opinion, I found a really cool way to work around that. So let me just read you the description of what I did. Fort can make force fields for anything but himself. They can be of any shape and can be suspended in midair. So what this is this kind of ties into the illustration, like his pose. So I was thinking a really cool thing that he would do is that he could have like this utility belt, right? And he has that belt in the picture, but you can't see it because he's facing away. but it's got like pockets full of like random rocks and stuff that he can throw. So the thing is, he would throw the rocks and he would kind of like, you know, put them in a force field, and then that force field would be kind of suspended in midair. So now he can jump onto that force field and kind of make a platform for himself if he needs to get onto like a high surface or something. It's also practical for a lot of other purposes.
Like, let's say there's like fallen debris from a building or something. He can just like create a force field to bubble that up. Or like, let's say his friends need to get to a different destination. He can just like bubble them and like move them to like a good spot. Because in my little headcanon, he can like move his force fields with his mind or something.
And another cool sort of thing that I thought of was, okay, so Frost's power is to make like weapons out of ice, right? So what if they made weapons out of ice, like kind of dangerous weapons like spikes or shurikens or like bombs or something, and then he could force field them and he can drop them onto a villain all at once. Like, how cool is that?
It would also give him a reason for needing to have a lot of like upper body strength, because let's say he's making multiple force fields, or if he's lifting something heavy, I can imagine that would cause like a lot of strain on his body. So that's just another thing I wanted to add. And I think that's about all I have to say about my redesigns. These were really, really fun to make. The drawing took a while. It took like 12.5 hours, I think. But I think it was totally worth it. I really liked their redesigns. I really liked the sort of comic book aesthetic that I gave them. And just in general, I'm really proud of them, and I would like to know what you guys think. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. You know, maybe leave a comment, like, subscribe if you don't want to. I understand, I've been gone for a while. But yeah, that's about it. Bye-bye.